My sincere greetings to everyone. And with this greeting, we'll start this gathering. And as I mentioned yesterday, I always start this kind of gathering and making sure my own motivation or intention is at least a neutral, if it is possible, a positive, a constructive motivation. And as a follower of the teachings of the Buddha, and try to hold refuge as strong as possible, and also within the teachings of the Buddha, try to follow Bodhisattva teachings and have received many Vajrayana teachings. And because of that, try to remember, try to hold bodhicitta as my main motivations, intentions, to live my day-to-day life and to engage with the activities, whatever routine, having breakfast or the leading classes and so forth. And also I always encourage others, people who are sincerely, genuinely, want to search at least a mentally calm, peaceful life, and also some people who seek further spiritual path. And I always encourage with to set the right motivation in the morning, and during the day, top up that right motivation briefly, maybe a second or 1 or 2 minutes. And I will, as I did yesterday, and I will do here today again. Because as we know from our own experiences and from those great teachers that we are fortunate enough to have met and received teachings, those great teachers, in one way or another, always encourage us to have a positive, a constructive mental state, regardless of whatever background that we are coming from. And also the texts, spiritual texts that we read, that we contemplate, always, almost every pages, almost, every paragraph, and there are these statements, importance of taking care of our mental states, our mental states. And though what in Buddhist term we talk about, there are 3 doors: body, speech, and mind, that our action or karmas are, execute or create. But within those 3 doors, the mental door, mental state, the mind, is the most important doors that we should try to reshape towards more constructive, more positive. If we do that, then our physical door and the verbal door will follow with that, and that we can tell from our own experiences. And as I'm just talking about the importance of setting right motivation in the morning. In the morning, if we do that, even just for a few minutes, and during the day, when we encounter a situation that may contradict our action or ready to act, may contradict with according to those great teachings, that our morning setting the right motivation may come to help us not to act, not to act that against the living beings' well-being, living beings, mental state, cause pain and difficulties. There is a great chance, and so therefore, the Buddha and the subsequent Buddhist teachers have again and again, stated the importance of training our mind, really, reshaping our mental states from current state. I'm not saying our minds are always negative, no, but it can, make more constructive, more positive, for our own well-being and well-beings of our friends, families, colleagues, and gradually the community. And as His Holiness always, says this, supporting the large numbers of living beings, it always starts from the individual level, from the family level, from the community where we live, and through that will extend to huge numbers of living beings. In that case, training our minds is very crucial, and that starts from the setting the right motivation. So I will not repeat these again and again. Many of you, I am sure, have had a great opportunity to encounter many great teachers, have received many teachings, and now, as I mentioned yesterday, it is not just collecting the intellectual understanding of the teachings of the Buddha and the subsequent Buddhist teachers. It is equally important to channel into in our daily practice. And when I say daily practice, I mean when we talk to others, to our family members, to our friends, to our colleague, to the stranger, direct talk to them with that positive and constructive act with that constructive, even just writing a short email, replying, or sending a short message on WhatsApp or whatever social media that we are using. Always, try to interact with the with the understand with the feeling of the teaching of the Dharma, and that way we'll see the benefits. So that is my brief encouragement to setting up the right motivation at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of an event, and during the day and in the evening, and even during the night when we go to bed. So with that, we will say the refuge and the bodhicitta lines 3 times. Sanje chena tsoje jom chanjo pado dami japo chen dage chen so jibe sonamaji dola penje sanje doba sanje chena tsoje jom chanjo pado dami japo chen dage chen so jibe sonamaji Dola penje sanje dola. Sanje cheda tsoji tsona. Chanjo pato dane. Dage jenso jibe tsona. Dola penje sanje dola. With the refuge and the bodhicitta as our main motivation to live our life and to learn to practice the Buddha Dharma. And now I will say the 6-syllable Chenrezig mantra a few times. And while I'm saying the mantra, you can just use the sound of the mantra as a your mind to focus on, and through that to cultivate qualities of the stability and the clarity of the mind. Also, because this mantra is the mantra of the deity of Avalokiteshvara, the manifestations of the great compassion of all the Buddhas. Also, we can hold very strong loving kindness, great compassion, and bodhicitta, and express that amazing mental qualities towards all living beings, all sentient beings. Starting up on ourselves, our loved ones, family members, friends, colleagues, and gradually to extend towards all living beings. And particularly those sentient beings, those human beings who are going through very, very difficult times, physically as well as mentally, due to the natural disasters, illnesses, or man-made difficulties, such as war, famine, or many other challenges. Completely lost everything, including their loved ones, their parents, grandparents, and so forth. So genuinely, sincerely express our loving kindness, empathy for all living beings, and feel that our genuine sharing or expression of love and compassion is rich all those simple beings. Do that, but it's up to the individual, either just simply focus on the mantra to raise the awareness, or do that simple, the form of visualization or meditation on loving kindness. Oh. Oh. Om Ne Om Om Ne Om As we know in our daily life, there are many commitments to be fulfilled, day-to-day commitments, as well as coming, the weeks, months, years, decades, and that certain things that we would um, like to complete, or at least we want to work for them. Therefore, the time and the energy and the resources that we have is very limited. Though there are many tasks to be completed, but the time and these are very limited. In terms of the time, when we divide it into 24 hours, there are only 24 hours. There's we can't add it on. And the same as our lifespan that we have is also not that very long. Though we are talking about, society is talking about and arranging and preparing, saying due to the development of modern technologies, modern medicines, modern lifestyles, people are living longer. Therefore, there are these new arrangements. The countries, they are postponing or extending their pension from 60 to 65, 65 to 66, like that, and so forth. But as a spiritual seeker And within the spiritual sequence, many of us following the teachings of the Buddha and those great Buddhist teachers, including His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Though these routine, worldly tasks need to be fulfilled, but it is equally important to try to fulfill our spiritual yearning, longing. We are fortunate, to be born as a human, and somehow many of you, the teachings of the Buddha is not your forefathers in a spiritual path, either Christianity, Judaism, or other spiritual tradition that might be your forefathers. But somehow, many of you, encountered the Buddha Dharma and these great teachers. So Shantideva clearly stated in his Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, I think in the first chapter, this human existence that we have right here and now, like the boat to carry us to the other shore, the other shore which is liberation, enlightenment. Me tula tenis, dependent on this human existence, then the nature cheleto, take us the other shore, which the current or the ocean, which is the great dissatisfaction, great the unhappiness. Take to from this shore to the other shore, which is the liberation enlightenment, to nature cheleto. To the chene nika, this kind of human existence, which has great potential, amazing, favorable condition to practice Dharma, it's not easy to obtain again and again. To the chene nika, mongpe tusu nimabo. Therefore, not to fall in sleep in the samsaric activities. Though samsaric things, worldly tasks, as I said, need to be fulfilled, need to be done, but at the same time, try to seize the opportunity, recognize how fortunate that we are. Though life is not perfect, things are not perfect. There are challenges, there are difficulties, individually and collectively. Within those, still, we are very fortunate. And therefore, really important to remind ourselves every now and then, no matter how challenges the life that we have, but still, recognize that we are very fortunate to have this existence and to pursue the spiritual journey that we would like to. And in that case, the sutra that we are reading, that really very nicely, very, relatively detailedly to explain the nature of our current existence. And if we are not happy if we are not really sort of deep down, we are not that happy, though there are lots of, the enjoyments that we can enjoy in our lives. But in the deep down, in the long term, if we feel it's not secure, it's not fully secure, those happiness, fulfillment that we want to have ourselves and to others, then the solution or the path is explained in this sutra, the third and fourth noble truth. And so this, based on this sutra, as I mentioned yesterday, and I will briefly recall, what we will understand, what we will, work, we will understand, the nature of our current existence. And also we will understand, if we are unhappy, if we are not fully satisfied our current nature of our current existence, and if I use this term, alternative, that is the cessation of dukkha and the origins of dukkha, and to experience that kind of cessation, then the path, that is the fourth noble truth, and in here, noble eightfold path. So that is something, if we say, I'm going to make this life meaningful, useful, helpful to myself and to others, then from the teachings of the Buddha's point of view, or those great teachers, Buddhist teachers' point of view, this is something we try to understand, these two: nature of our current existence, and there is an alternative. If we are unhappy, if we are not satisfied our nature of our current existence, there is an alternative. If we understand that relation to our own life, then that understanding can be applied to others, our loved one, our friend, our colleague. And when we talk about from the Buddhist, from the particularly Bodhisattva and the teachings point of view, all living beings, all sentient beings, we can then genuinely, feel, the empathy, compassion for all living beings. And that understanding, that kind of what you call the step-by-step understanding, step-by-step deep feeling. If we ourselves, feel my current existence there are many good, positive things, many happy things, many enjoyments there, but still it is not free from, root of the dukkha, suffering, then if we understand that, then that understanding can apply to others. That application will help us to develop genuine love and compassion, particularly great compassion. To really feel great compassion to others, first we need to understand, that dukkha, suffering, and the origins of suffering, relation, what kind of trouble, what kind of difficulty they cause to ourselves. It is very clearly stated again by Shantideva in his guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, he said, Rangi tundu dendesem milam tuyan mamina shenji tundu kalaje. Very, very powerful statement. For one's own sake, if we, in this case, Shantideva is talking about bodhicitta, but I will here talk about more general. Rangi tundu dendesem. For one's own sake, if we don't feel want to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha, it is impossible to have that kind of feeling, that kind of yearning to others to be free from dukkha and the origins of dukkha. So these are, if we use the modern term or the psychologically point of view, that is how we need to train ourselves. So understanding of Four Noble Truths is extremely, helpful to one's own long-term journey, and it is also extremely helpful to set up our, Bodhisattva in the teachings path. So supporting or serving all living beings. And that is, briefly to explain. So yesterday I stopped promptly, not making any conclusion, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So I was reading, or not really reading, giving a general structure of the sutra, and I have explained the first two Noble Truths when first main body of the sutra. Each Noble Truth is explained or taught by Buddha three times, and each time Buddha explain on a particular point. That is, today's we are first Noble Truth and second Noble Truth. I have explained yesterday, and now I'm going to start from the third Noble Truth, which is Noble Truth of the cessation of suffering and the origins of suffering. And there, again, in the first round, Buddha said, there is a cessation. There is a cessation of suffering and the origins of suffering. I think which is a very, very important statement. If there wasn't a cessation of suffering or origins of suffering, then entire the teachings of the Buddha doesn't make that much sense. Because there is a cessation of suffering and the origins of suffering, then the teaching that Buddha had given after his enlightenment, more than 40-something years, makes sense. There is a reason to give him those teachings. So that is the first round, saying there is a cessation. And in the second round, Buddha said, this cessation should be experienced. So the nirvana or cessation, liberation is not something outside. It is within ourselves. And within ourselves, not some kind of abstract, something to be experienced. What is experienced? The cessation or the extinction of or exhaustion or extinction of the dukkha and the origins of dukkha. That should be experienced within ourselves. And that experience will come gradually, not all in once. It will come gradually. And this we can tell from our own experiences when we deal with the particular unwholesome mental states or behaviors, like anger, jealousy. When we deal with them like this kind of unhealthy mental state, anger will not stop all in once. It will reduce intensity, occurrence of the number when we apply the antidote, like a love. And that is what here, cessation of suffering and origins of suffering that will experience gradually. Once we experience the complete cessation of dukkha and the origins of dukkha, then there's no returning these two. That's the third round. That is third round. So in here, that one of the great Buddhist, Indian Buddhist teacher, Dhammakirti, and also other great Buddhist teachers, they said the cessation of dukkha and the origins of dukkha is possible because these two are impermanent. These two are impermanent. These two are subject to change. No matter ignorance, attachment, hatred, no matter how deeply rooted within our psyche, but they are subject to change. They are subject to change. Not only they are subject to change, they are antidote to make them to uproot from our psyche. If there weren't any antidote or any solution, then again that is another another thing. But there is a solution. Ignorance can be fully, completely uprooted from our psyche because we can apply wisdom. Application of wisdom, understanding of impermanence, wisdom, understanding of nature of dukkha, wisdom, understanding of dependent origination, wisdom, understanding of shunyata, emptiness. These wisdom can be cultivated within our psyche. When these wisdom can be cultivated, naturally, ignorance will reduce. Because these are, naturally these are, mutually exclusive. Once we enhance within our psyche, once we enhance, like for example, wisdom, understanding of nature of impermanence, not only external things and events, but mainly here, right here and now. This body, every morning, shower, put some lotion, and put nice, comfortable clothes, feed, and take care when the weather is cold, put hair, gloves, We take care, which is good, but it is impermanent, subject to change. When we develop that understanding of nature of impermanence, relation to this life, relation to our collection, relation to our those, then it may bring initially uncomfortable. But more we understand, more the understanding of nature of impermanence is developed, less attachment, grasping, holding tightly will come. And that is how cessation, how the antidote, the wisdom that help to reduce, isn't it? So that is here. Cessation is possible because these dukkha and origins of dukkha are impermanent. There is an antidote to make them uproot, initially to reduce and eventually to uproot from our psyche. And there are many great teachers and teaching to help us to do this, to cultivate wisdom. So in that sense, why we shouldn't put effort to experience cessation. After having all these, what you call the favorable conditions to experience the third noble truth. And His Holiness, the Dalai Lama says very often, that it is very, very, very helpful to reflect on, the cessation of suffering and the origins of suffering is possible within ourselves and within all living beings. And that is what here, from the Bodhisattva and the teachings point of view, if we understand this cessation of dukkha and origins of dukkha can take place within the all living beings' mental continuum, we understand that. If we feel that, then our mental strength to help them, to support them, will become stronger. If you have for example, in a worldly case, when you have a project and you will see the end of the project, the aim of the project, or the goal of the project is possible to be finished, to be accomplished within a year or 2 years or 3 years, or that the facilities, conditions, supports are there, there is a sort of encouragement to do that, to take that task. And it is the same in here. So contemplate this third noble truth. Those sometimes become very abstract, complete cessation of suffering and the origins of suffering, or enlightenment, liberation sometimes become quite abstract, not very, we don't see that very close. It is true, but if we reflect on these lines, then we feel, that's it. There would be a great sort of sense of encouragement. It is possible me to experience complete cessation of dukkha and the origins of dukkha. I can support others to experience that cessation. Yeah. So that is the third noble truth. And with regard to the fourth noble truth, Buddha went three rounds. And the first round, Buddha introduced or explained the path, the solution to experience that third noble truth, which is the cessation. And in here, Buddha introduced these in the group is called the Noble Eightfold Path. Noble Eightfold Path. So there are 8, most of them are very much related to the mental qualities. Of course, through the mental qualities, then there are physical and verbal training, but mainly they are all mental, mental qualities, and which is really useful to remember. When Buddha introduced the Noble Eightfold Path, as many of you all know, I will just read in case if there are not people who don't know what are the Noble Eightfold Path. So Noble Eightfold Path in the sutra, it says right view, right intention. These two are related to the wisdom, training our mind into wisdom, to cultivate wisdom. That is right view and right intention. Then the next 3, right speech, right action, right livelihood. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. These 3 are related to the cultivation of ethics, having ethical sort of lifestyle, living ethically, physically, verbally, and mentally. So that is there are 3 in that second, the ethics, training in ethics. And then the next 3, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So these 3 are training our mind to have, concentration, samadhi. In other words, our mind has the qualities of stillness and the qualities of the clarity, which is very, very helpful for the training our mind in a different level, at the ethical level, at the wisdom level. If our general mental state has that kind of quality, stillness and the clarity. Stillness in the sense, what Jetson Kaba has said, stillness in the sense, if we want to place our mind on a one point, on the one subject, our mind is able to stay with that subject as if, placing a big mountain. If there's a big mountain, even if we use this amazing modern, GCP or all those things can't move easily. So like that, stillness in the sense once, our mind had the quality to stay or to abide on the one task, on the one subject, as long as we want, no matter what is going wrong. That is a very, very useful call. Still, clarity. With the stillness, if mind is, mind is free from, that what you call the dullness, or sometimes called mental sinking, or that clarity. So these two, that generally term is used, concentration or samadhi. There are different levels, different degrees, but here we are talking about some of those basic. So when Buddha, with regard to the fourth noble truth, the noble truth of the path which leads to cessation, in this sutra, Buddha introduced those noble eightfold paths. Out of the eight, first two are related to the cultivation of wisdom. Next three related to the cultivation of ethics. And last three relation to the cultivation of concentration. So, entire the path, or the way, or the solution that Buddha taught to his followers to experience either full, complete cessation and enlightenment, or in their daily life, in their everyday lives, day-to-day life, Buddha taught these three: wisdom, panya, ethics, and concentration. These three. And these three can be extended in many different ways, but that is what Buddha taught. So that's the first round with regard to the fourth noble truth. And the second round, with regard to the fourth noble truth, Buddha said it should be cultivated. Noble eightfold path should be cultivated within ourselves. Wisdom, those first two, should be cultivated, should be developed, should be enhanced. That's what we should do with regard to the fourth noble truth. And, in the third round, once noble eightfold path is fully cultivated within our mental continuum, within ourselves, then that is the end. That's it. There's no more further cultivation is needed. So 3 rounds. Each noble truth is taught in a 3 round. Each noble truth at that first round, Buddha simply introduced, this is dukkha. This is origins of dukkha. This is cessation, and this is path which leads to cessation. That's in the first round. In the second round, then there is a slightly different, with regard to the first noble truth. In the second round, Buddha said it should be understood. It should be, understood fully. Dukkha, suffering, should be fully understood. with regard to the second noble truth, in the second round, Buddha said it should be abandoned. It should be discarded, eliminated. With regard to the third noble truth, it should be experienced. No, it should be experienced. Cessation should be experienced. With regard to the fourth noble truth, Buddha said it should be cultivated, developed. And in the third round, then it is again, it's same. Once we understand fully the dukkha, fully the nature of dukkha, then there's no more further dukkha need to be learned. As I mentioned yesterday, once we understand the pervasive of dukkha, under the category of dukkha is categorized into three levels: suffering of change, and pervasive suffering. Once we understand dukkha at this level, pervasive suffering, then there's no other new dukkha need to be understood. Though, for example, when I first came, preparing to go to West, that was 1991, and this great master, Geshe-Champa Tekcho, later become abbot of Sermey Monastery. He was in Nalanda, and so we had a little communication, and so because also his nature, he was a great teacher, very straight. Then once we briefly I agree, okay, I will come to Nalanda Monastery where he was working. Then he just sent me a fax, all the papers faxed it in Delhi, and he said, go to Delhi, all the papers are sent in fax in Delhi. That was my first time to see that technology, that somebody sending the papers from France, and it is all the writings, everything is just coming out from this machine. So that time I was very nervous. The second or third page came, but fourth or fifth page didn't come. I was very nervous what's going to happen, and so on and so forth. But that time, there wasn't any WhatsApp, or there wasn't any of these easy to communicate. But these days, it's suffering is changed a little bit, but nature of suffering hasn't changed regarding to the communication. Just when was that? Day before yesterday, or my internet completely collapsed, and I suffered a lot because I need to talk some important points in meetings. So the 1991, I was very nervous because of the fax machine wasn't working, and recently I was very nervous. I have a very important meeting, but my the internet is not working. That collapsed. But suffering is same. Nature of suffering is there, same, but caused by different times. So therefore, Buddha said, once we fully understood the dukkha, then there isn't any something new dukkha need to do. And it is same to the the second noble truth. Once we eradicate the origins of dukkha from our mental continuum completely, then they will not return back. Why? Because eradication of the dukkha, eradication of origins of dukkha, like attachment, aversion, and ignorance, is through the cultivation of, if we use current teaching, through the cultivation of noble eightfold paths. Once the noble eightfold path is really fully rooted within ourselves, noble eightfold paths become part of our way of thinking, way of living, way of interaction with other living beings. Then there's no room to return ignorance, attachment, aversion, and so forth. That is what, once abandoned the origins of dukkha from our mental continuum, then that's it. So like that, so Buddha taught the four noble truths in 3 rounds. 3 rounds, each noble truth. So these are something useful for us to remember, to recall, very, very helpful. So in that case, our sutra itself, looking at the structure, our main body of the sutra is in that form. Each noble truth are taught in a 3 round. And then the conclusion of the sutra. Conclusion of the sutra is very, very interesting for us to know. And this I want to, read a little bit. The sutra itself, I'm sure many of you got the copy of the sutra. So long, bhikkhus, as my knowledge and vision of these 4 noble truths, as they really are in their 3 phases. 3 phases are used 3 rounds. So in their 3 phases and 12 aspects. So 12 aspects are each aspect, each round, is then counted 4 times, then there are 12. That is what 12 aspects. Was not thoroughly purified in this way, in the sense as Buddha had taught, or just taught to his 5 disciples, I did not claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment. So Buddha is saying, what I've just taught with regard to the 4 noble truths in these 3 aspects, or 3 phases, and 12 aspects, if that's wrong, if that's incorrect, then I will not claim, I will not say I am enlightened, awakened being. In this way, I do not claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world, which then it goes all those things. Then the next line, it says, but when my knowledge and wisdom, knowledge and vision of these 4 noble truths, as they are in their 3 phases and 12 aspects, as thoroughly purified in this way, then I claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world. So that is something important for us to remember. When we talk about experiencing or attaining liberation, enlightenment, that's what here Buddha had stated very clearly. With regard to the Four Noble Truths, our daily life, our daily interaction with the living beings, and so on and so forth, are close to or moving towards what the Buddha taught in this sutra, then our journey to enlightenment, to liberation is on the right track. On the right track. Though at this stage, we may not be fully awakened, we may not be fully unsurpassed perfect enlightenment, but our journey to that is in the right track. And that is something I found very, very useful, to follower of the teachings of the Buddha. What Buddha had said with regard to the attaining enlightenment, experiencing liberation. Now, there isn't any fancy, Buddha didn't say in here, enlightenment or liberation, very fancy, very, dazzling, things. He just talked about with regard to the Four Noble Truths. And that is also very clearly stated, again, this great Indian Buddhist logician, Dhammakirti, in his, the Pramana Vadika, in the second chapter. He will say whether the Buddha, the historical Buddha, is a trustworthy person or not, is tested whether he sees the Four Noble Truths as they are or not, but not tested whether he sees long distance or not, whether he sees all the particles of the building blocks of the universe or not, whether the historical Buddha is trustworthy person or not is defined whether he sees the Four Noble Truths as they are. And that is something important for us to remember. So with regard to now, I'm going to say, because we are running out of time, with regard to the Noble Eightfold Path, I will say a little bit on that subject, Noble Eight, which is the means or the methods that Buddha taught. And for us, these wisdom, ethics, and concentration. Sometimes this group is called three trainings. Of course, I think almost all the world major religious traditions, whether we use these terms, the training, ethics or wisdom, and the concentration or not, have a teachings, have a practices to have ethical life, to live ethically, to cultivate wisdom, to cultivate the concentration. I think in a different forms, different ways, different manners. But here, one thing which we need to bear in mind, I'm not saying the teachings of the Buddha is the best. What I'm saying is, when we talk about wisdom, then here, the teachings of the Buddha is very, very unique with regard to talking about the wisdom. Of course, wisdom realizing impermanence, wisdom realizing dukkha, wisdom realizing nature of all samsaric things and events are relatively common all the world major religious tradition. But wisdom realizing dependent origination, or wisdom realizing anattama or shunyata, emptiness, that wisdom is something very, very unique. Under that wisdom, or supported by that wisdom, then when we practice ethics, when we cultivate, the what you call the concentration, then our training or our path will become a unique Buddhist practice. For example, bodhicitta, the altruistic awakening, is great, amazing, but it should be supported by the ultimate bodhicitta, or in other words, wisdom realizing emptiness. Wisdom realizing emptiness. So, wisdom realizing emptiness, in this case, we are talking about matter, the out of the eight noble eightfold path, here we are talking about the first two noble, the path, the right view and right intention. Then when we talk about bodhicitta, then we are talking about second training, that is ethics. Right livelihood, right speech, right action can start from our own well-being, but also can practice well-beings of all sentient beings. In that case, then bodhicitta is in that level. Then, of course, concentration can be the can support both wisdom, cultivation of wisdom, and the ethics. So what I'm bringing here is the Noble Eightfold Path. What I can see the Buddha taught as a means and method is from the substance point of view. In the Bodhisattva and the teachings, for example, in the what you call the Heart Sutra, how the wisdom realizing emptiness is, make progress from stage to stage. And that's what here, Tayata, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate. And that is really explaining from the point of view of how the wisdom realizing emptiness is gradually cultivated in these 5 stages. So when we listen, when we read, some of those classical Mahayana Buddhist teachings point of view, or Bodhisattva and the teachings point of view of the path which leads to the enlightenment, then it is mainly explained from how the wisdom realizing emptiness is progress, from the starting gate to the parasamgate, bodhi, like that. But in general, it is this the 5 paths which we normally call accumulation, preparation, seeing, meditation, normal learning. That way of explaining the path is more or less, how the wisdom realizing emptiness with the bodhicitta is progress. Progress is made. Gati para sankara. But in here, in the first sermon of the Buddha, the path that Buddha pointed out is the Noble Eightfold Path. That is more, the substances point of view, saying need wisdom, need ethics, need concentration. And if wisdom is a little bit extended, then right view, right intention. If the ethic is a little bit extended, then right speech, right livelihood, right action, and so on and so forth. I think that way is quite helpful to see the, to understand the slightly different angle where the path to liberation is explained in this sutra and some of the classical bodhisattva in the teachings. And that's the one thing which I thought may be useful to say. So is there, Gloria, is there any question? Who is going to, are there any questions?
I did not see any questions, nor did I receive any.
Okay.
But we can open it up to folks.
No, I think that is that if in a quite big number, it is difficult to open questions.
We can see. They can put it in the chat, or
you can raise your hand, click the raise hand button, or put it in the chat. I think that's fine.
Okay. So then, what I would, instead of answering your question here, maybe now difficult to because running out of time, what I want to say is this. I want to conclude my, usually I call my blah blah. There's one, I think. Okay. There's one. If you are interested in leaving, oh, no, that's not my question. I thought there's one question. Okay, so what I want to say is really as a spiritual seeker, in this case, for following the teachings of the Buddha, then what we need is we need to have a long vision. Long-term vision, not short-term, right here and now. Though it is useful, helpful to experience certain result of our Dhamma practice, but the setting long-term, having long-term vision, coming years, decades, or then even further, next life after. In that way, we will not feel frustration, because not seeing the immediate result. Our current society, or everything is very much instinct result. Just order on the Google or on the Amazon, and within few hours the things is delivered. But not very much in India still. I mean, there might be in the cities, might be the case. So not in the monastery, still need to wait 24 hours, sometimes weeks. But that is our current society is very much in that kind of atmosphere. So these kind of internal transformation, training our mind, training ourselves, and to get the result will take time. But if we put an effort, definitely there will be result. But the result will very obvious right here and now, but there will be result. So not to have a short-term vision, have a long-term. In Tibetan, some of the Kadamba master will say this expression, Mik Yang Sing. Mik Yang Sing means Mik means eyes. Yang Sing look long way there. Not just right here and now in short. That way our spiritual, what you call the journey, will survive, will continue. If we have a very short-term vision, view, then difficult to survive. After a few years, we may say goodbye. And that won't be very helpful to ourselves and to others. So, have that kind of vision. And also, as I mentioned yesterday, which I feel very strongly, and Jetson Khapa clearly stated in his Lamrim Chen, Sungram Malu Dammat Shah, seeing all the teaching, at what level the teaching is given. Try to understand all these teachings are given as an instruction to me, not someone else to me. Some of them we may understand, we may practice right here and now. Some of them might be a little bit advanced, and we may not be able to understand right here and now. But still, these are also instruction for us, for our spiritual journey. And this, with regard to some of those teachings, we don't understand right here and now. We can't practice right here and now. But, when Jetson Khapa was meditating on emptiness, to really to get the right view on emptiness, what he said is, Tatalama Soada. So make a prayer and request to the teachers, to our meditational deities, like Manjushri, like Chenresi, Tatalama Soada. And then, Tsoksa Tipjang to create virtues, within ourselves. Our mind become very susceptible, creating virtues, make our mind susceptible for the spiritual transformation, development. And whenever, some of those unfortunate, unhealthy mental states or the behaviors were taking place, always try to purify. Then, young, again and again, try to focus on the subject that you are trying to understand, that you try to experience. So the spiritual journey is very, very gradual, and it will take time, but useful, helpful to have this consistency, have this continuation, even though it might be a short sessions a day, or just small things to support others, to cultivate wisdom, to meditate, analyze. But having that consistency will bring the result. So that is I want to say. And now we are coming close to in my case, 7:30 in the morning. And I will simply read the 21 Tara prayers, which is my normal ending the class. And while I'm reading the 21 Tara prayers, you can, people who know the 21 Tara prayers, you can say it, or others just, listen to the prayers. Oma je chade, oma je pama droma la cha chanze droma nyuma ba, jene keje lo da, jigden sunggun chugi she, kesar jewa lene jong, chanze dongge dawa gun, kangwa yene zigbe she, kama dongda soba, rabdo chewe rabara, chanze singwe chone, peme chane nambara ke, jimba zundu kato she, seba samden juni, chanze tishin shebe to, taye nambara jawa che, malu paru jimba to, jawe seji shindu tenma, chanze toda rahung ye, deda choda namka kama, jikden tumbo shabye me, leba meba guba nu, chanze jajen me la zang, longla na so wangju che ma, jombo rongla che sa na, nijun soje dune de ma, chanze teje chatang te, paro chugu rabdo jom ma, egon yun jang shabye me, mebara chugwa shindo bara, chanze turi jigba chen, deje pao nambara chong, chugu shene chonye te, tao tamze ma lu se ma, chanze kunjo sumzen chang, seme toga nambara jen ma, ma lu choje polo jen, age weje sonama che ma, chanze rato kawa che, ojen weje chenwa bela ma, sheba rapshe to da ra, de da jikden wando chen, chanze sashi chongwe so, tamje guba numa nyen, chonye ye wa ye de hong, pongpa tamje nambara do, chanze dawe dombo o, tenpa tamje shindo para, rebe chone roba me, tabar shindo, chanze kebe tama me, barwe chengwe wene, ye jang yung kumukun, ko, daye kune nambara chom, chanze saji ngola cha gen, tilgi nijing shakye tong, chonye chenze yige honge, rinpa tumbo nami ke, chanze dema ke ma che ma, nyangen deshin chu ni, sowa omda yanda den, dikwa chamba chomba ni, chanze kune korwa kawe, daye lune nambara ken, yege chube ngane kwe rikwa hongne kumani, chanze turi chamne dabe, honge nabe sabe ni, pera me dara tambe chen, chikde somna ye wani, chanze haye soye nabe, reda tajen chan, dara nije peje ye, duna malu pani se, chanze waye tsonama je opo, hatang miyam chi ten, kwene koja kawa je, zedang melam ngenpa se, chanze nima tawa je be, jinyi pola raba se, ara nije doda ra ye, shindo chakwe rinne se, chanze tinye somnam kwe be, shiwe tudang yang da den, deda rona nije tso nam, chomba turi rapani, tawe ngaje teba te tang, chanze wani, chanjo semjo rinpa, maje panama, eba nyamba meba, kome kondo, kare rave korve shinkama de, penda dewa malu jungwe ne, chere sewa tenzin jato, shabe sede pado, Thank you. Oh yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for organizing this blah blah, and I thoroughly enjoyed. And once again, have the opportunity to read this beautiful sutra, and all the people have most of you, I think, from America, and that means have a good sleep.
So Rinpoche, Tuteche, thank you so much for agreeing to teach with us, and we hope that you'll join us again next year during our guest speaker. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. We're very blessed.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you sincerely,
Thank you.
Rinpoche.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All the
Thank
people.
you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.